Alright guys, so we're up to The Punisher, and oh boy, one of the most satisfying Marvel Netflix shows I've ever watched, I will tell you that. But for me, this is one... My dad, ladies and gentlemen, he loves it too. So, for me, this is, up there with, Daredevil and Jessica Jones. I have to say, The Punisher, Daredevil, and Jessica Jones are my three most favorite Marvel Netflix shows, out of, the Marvel Netflix shows. Iron Fist and Luke Cage are okay, but they haven't quite reached the level of love that I have for these three superheroes. They're just the best. Anyway, I'm going to start off this review by talking about Madonni. Now, I really liked the character Madonni in this show. I don't know the actress's name, but I like her story in this show. I like the character Madonni. Her story in this show is that she's investigating the murder of an overseas cop who unfortunately found out about some illegal activity and was then, he was killed. But she starts off this investigation because of a video that was sent to her by a NSA analyst. But I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna have to watch the movie. The movie. Fuck. Maybe I'm gonna have to watch the show like another time because I had to rewatch it again to do this review. So maybe I'm gonna have to watch it again. But I can't remember the show actually explaining why she was so passionate about this cop's murder. I don't know. I can't remember, but I don't know. Anyway, point is that I love Madonni as a character. She was great, and things really started to pick up when her partner died. That was when I really started to get into her as a character, and the actress who plays her, still don't know her name. She did a fantastic job. Now, one character, Lewis, was really interesting, okay? And really interesting because he was by far the most realistic character in the whole show. Now, this whole show is extremely realistic, right? And I will say, this show, compared to all the movies and all the other shows on Netflix and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., is by far the most realistic, more realistic than Daredevil and Jessica Jones. They're great, but this one just hits a point of realism that none of them ever have. And one of the things that does that is Lewis's story. Now, Lewis is an ex-vet, I think. He's an ex-soldier. He's come back home, and ever since he came home, he's been mistreated by his own people. And unfortunately, that happens in the real world more than you'd think. And this show does a really good job of shining a light on that. And what it does is it shows how that could lead to a character like Lewis. He essentially becomes a terrorist. And this is some really heavy shit. And it does show how if a country is not careful, that country will make if they get unlucky, they'll make a terrorist out of one of their own soldiers. Or maybe they get lucky and they get a vigilante like the Punisher. So it's really interesting how this show explores military. Because with Daredevil Season 2, with the Punisher storyline, that was more about family. This one's more about his military side. And it also, that military side also ties into Lewis, and the whole show is very military oriented. But yeah, I just love that. It was very eye-opening. Alright, so as I've said before in my review for Season 2 of Daredevil, the Punisher is awesome. He is still awesome in this show. I love him. Anyone who doesn't love him is just boring. But I actually liked him a little more this time around because of his time with a character named David Lieberman. David Lieberman is the alter ego Micro, yeah. And he is basically Frank's guidance system. Like for Spider-Man, you have Ned, who's the guy in the chair. Micro is Punisher's guy in the chair, and I just love that. But I really liked both of them in this show because their chemistry was just freaking awesome. These guys were so funny together, but also just these guys eventually over time, I mean, they didn't have the best of starts, but eventually these guys for me felt like blood brothers. These guys were awesome. They were like a family. I just loved seeing them living together, driving to missions together. It was really funny. Like he's asking him to go get some milk. Also, really quickly, David Lieberman as a character, totally loved him. On his own, I liked him more with the Punisher because of their friendship. But David Lieberman, his story is almost the exact same as the Punisher's, except with one major difference. David Lieberman is the one that was supposedly killed, right? But he's obviously still alive, but his family is also still alive. So that, in that sense, his story is different from the Punisher's, but still very similar because they're both dead men. And anyway, he was just awesome. Alright, so this review is coming to a close, but one thing I want to say before I go is that this show does such a damn good job of making you hate its fucking villains. And, oh my gosh, man. You know why? Okay, you know why? It's because the Punisher himself is a killer. So, if the writers didn't make you hate the villains in this show, especially the two main villains, then you wouldn't feel anything when they died. You'd probably actually side against Punisher for killing them. But this show does such a good job of making them complete dipshits and assholes and all the other words that you could possibly think of. And they're just all those words, and they are written so well, but one character that I hated more than even the main villain. Dare I say that this one character is the main villain. That's Billy Russo. I fucking hated this guy. I have never hated a villain more than this fucking guy because the writing is so good and the performance is so good as well. But I won't tell you why, okay? I actually don't want to tell you why. I want you to experience it for yourself in case you haven't seen the show. But man, when the Punisher finishes his work on this guy, oh! That was the most satisfying thing I have probably seen in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. In a weird way, I was satisfied. I was like, yeah, that was great. It's like I just finished a wank or whatever. Anyway, that was really crude. Anyway, I love this show. Like I said, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, The Punisher. I think how it goes for me is Daredevil, Punisher, and then Jessica Jones, in that order. But I love this show. I loved him in Season 2. I love Frank Castle as a character in general. I don't know if there's going to be Season 2, but I just want to see him in anything, even the movies. So, I'll see you in my next review. I don't know what that is. I think it's Runaways. I haven't seen that show yet, but that should be fun. Anyway, I'll see you in that review. Goodbye.